Hello, my name is Ashley Deadweiler Jones, and I am here highlighting HBCU's finest. And today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm actually going to be highlighting my co-host, Miss Andrea Evans. Miss Andrea Evans, hey, how you doing?
Hey, Ashley, and thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about my HBCU experience and tell my story.
Absolutely. So a lot of you may or may not know Miss Andrea, but she is an international IP lawyer. And she's had the wonderful experience of going to Spelman. And today I want to know what made her choose Spelman, because this brilliant lady could have gone anywhere in the world, but she chose Spelman. Andrea, why Spelman?
Well, Ashley, I grew up in Houston, and when I was in elementary, from elementary to middle school, I was raised primarily by my grandparents. And when it was time to go to high school, I, stayed with my mother and my sister and brother, and I had a unique experience. So in elementary, I grew up in Third Ward, and it's a predominantly African American community in Houston. And so I had the pleasure of going to a primarily African American elementary school. And I grew up around my mother and my family members, including my grandparents and aunts and uncles. And they always told me I was smart. And so whenever somebody said something bad about me, I would say, but I'm smart, I'm smart. And so by the time I got to high school, where I was basically a minority in the high school, I was rocking and rolling in terms of academics, but I loved to watch the Cosby show in a different world. And because I grew up in Third Ward, I could literally walk to Texas Southern University, an HBCU college or university. And my aunt went to Prairie View, my mother went to Prairie View. So I grew up around family members who had also gone to HBCU colleges and universities. And I watched the Cosby show and said, what college is that? Where did this different world come from? And they said Spelman College. And that was actually my first introduction to Spelman College. It was the Cosby show in a different world. And I set my sights on going to Spelman. But I have to tell you this funny story. So when I was in high school, I dated this guy in high school, and he was having a party. And his aunt from Atlanta, who, but unbeknownst to me, was a graduate of Spelman, came to the party. And so he said, oh, well, this is my aunt. And she started telling me that she went to Spelman. And I said, well, I really wanted to go to Spelman. I don't know anybody that's ever gone to Spelman. And she said, I tell you what, if you ever want to come to Atlanta and visit Spelman, you can stay with me. And I said, hold on a second. Let me call my mother on the phone. So I called my mother and I said, can you please just come over here to this party? I want you to meet somebody. And so she met Davita, who, I still talk to this day. And my mother said, okay, fine. Whenever you want to go to Spelman, now I can say I've met her, I'll let you go. But now fast forward, because I had been raised on the south side of Houston, I had a whole big community of friends on the south side of Houston. But now I was at this high school on the north side of Houston. But my mother promised me, if you go to this high school, I know you're leaving all your friends, I'll still let you get to hang out with your friends on the south side of Houston. So Houston is huge. I drove about 45 minutes back and forth to get to hang out with my friends. And we were at a party. And one of my friends at the time, who was a good friend of my best friend, we went to different high schools. And we were at just this random sort of teen party, and we started talking about college. Where do you want to go to college? She said FAMU, and I said Spelman. And she said, you're not going to believe this. My sister goes to Spelman, and she's here at the party. And I said, oh, do you mind? Can I please meet your sister? I've never met anybody my age that has gone to Spelman. That's my dream college. She goes and gets her sister, and I tell you, it's something about this Spelman sisterhood. She comes over, and this is Ronnie Johnson. Everybody has heard me, who's heard this story knows how much of an impact she made on me, but she kind of had that same attitude as Davita. Oh, Andrea, it's nice to meet you. Here's my number, and this is before cell phones, before social media. And she said, if you ever want to come to visit Spelman College, you can stay with me and we'll hang out and have an amazing time. And so that is exactly what happened. I went home And I said to my mother, please, can you let me go and visit Spelman College? I've never seen it. And she let me go. I flew on the plane by myself. Davita picked me up, and Davita said, Andrea, you said you have a friend at Spelman. I know that I said that you can stay with me, but you're not going to get the real experience of Spelman unless you go stay on campus. And so we called up Ronnie, and she said, hey, come on and stay on the campus. And that was my first introduction to Spelman, and I just set my heart on going to Spelman. And Ashley, I was so very fortunate to receive a full academic scholarship to Spelman, which I know we're going to talk about, but it was just a dream that I had from watching television, and then going from that to being at the right place at the right time. And fast forward, I graduated from Spelman.
And that's why we do this, because we know that there are folks that are watching that, all it starts with a dream, whoever it is, it's a dream. And my gosh, you are living it, my sister. So talk to us about that process. Like I know that a lot of people do want to go to HBCUs, but finding the money to get there is always kind of difficult. But it sounds like you figured it out at a very young age. What'd you do?
Well, so that goes just to my story, Ashley. So it turns out that when I got to Spelman and stayed with Ronnie was a NASA Women in Science and Engineering scholar. And so the way the scholarship was set up is everybody on the hall also had this full tuition academic scholarship from NASA. And every summer, NASA paid them to go work at NASA. Now, I'll tell you, my mother was a single mother, and she was an engineer and an educator and everything, just doing the best that she could. But I have a brother and sister who are 2 and 3 years younger than me. And my mother said, look, you're going to need to get a scholarship if you want to go to Spelman. It's a very expensive school. We have schools here in Texas that you can go to. You're setting your sights on going to Spelman, but she encouraged me. And let me tell you how God works, Ashley. Because Ronnie had that scholarship, I went to class with her, and she said, oh, well, I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Faulkner, who's over this scholarship. So I met Dr. Faulkner, and she said, well, you're not going to believe this. The application is due on Monday. And this was Friday or Saturday. And she said, here's the paper application. It was a thick stack of papers. And, she said, if you can get this into me and apply, good luck, just kind of encouraged me. And I flew back on the plane. I stayed up and I put everything together. I wrote this essay, and the rest is history. We live near the 24-hour airport post office. And I never will forget that, 5 o'clock came, 6 o'clock came, and I was just working so hard to write this essay, and I just prayed over it. And my mother took it to the airport, had it time-stamped, and I applied. Now, fast forward though, again, this is before email and cell phones. I had a lot of friends. I was always throwing a lot of parties and doing a lot of things. But we had a lot of fun on the phone, and we used to do a lot of prank calls. And so I get this call one day, and I'm on the phone just kicking back with my friends. We thought we were doing something on a 3-way call, and I hear this woman's voice, and it sounded like kind of an older person's voice. And she said, hello, is this Andrea Hence at the time? And I said, yes. And she said, well, this is Dr. Etta Faulkner from Spelman College, and we want to give you this full academic scholarship to NASA. And then, anybody else would have said, oh, thank you. And I said, you lying. Who is this? Who is this playing on my telephone? And she repeated it again. She said, Miss Hence, we'd like to offer you this. I said, hold on a minute. I got my mother, and I said, come listen to this. So my mother gets on the phone, and, we're just so excited and thankful. But then we had this joke. We looked at each other and we said, we better not tell anybody until we get the paperwork, just in case that was one of your friends playing on the phone. But by the grace of God, I needed that scholarship, and my prayers were answered, and I had a full tuition academic scholarship to go to Spelman. And then every summer I was able to come home to Houston, get paid, and work at Johnson Space Center. And it was just an incredible opportunity, and I just love my time at Spelman.
Wow, what a dream come true. Like when you talk about your young age, seeing Spelman on, Hillman on television, and then, meeting somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody, those connections are always so, so very important. And the impressions that you leave on people are even more important. So congratulations for sticking it out and making it happen, Andrea. So now you're at Spelman, you got this wonderful scholarship, you've got these internships that are paying you. And it's just like I said, a dream come true. It sounds like this is something out of a book. What was it like at Spelman though? Now you are engineering major, I believe. Talk to me about your major and that whole progression. Because when people talk to me about engineering school, it's like, forget about it. Like that is the hardest thing in the world. So talk to me about that process with Spelman and being a part of that whole community, those scientists.
Yes, I had the best of both worlds. So I say that because I was able to participate in the dual degree engineering program. And so basically I was able to go to Spelman for 3 years and then transfer and apply and get into Georgia Tech for 2 years and graduate in 5 years from both schools in May and June. And so it was an incredible experience at Spelman because the way the scholarship was set up, all of the NASA scholars lived on the same hall and we were all roommates. And so I was used to working hard. But when I tell you these women really pushed me to do even better and to work harder, and we had a lot of fun. What was interesting is that I felt like I was good at a lot of things, but I grew up in a household of scientists and engineers, and I did a lot of different STEM projects and things. And so when it was time to choose a major in college, my mother said, well, I know you keep saying you want to be this judge and you want to be a lawyer, but you need something to fall back on, and you're good at this and you like to do it. So major in engineering. And that's why I did that. And I'm glad I did because I had the scholarship and I'm a patent attorney today. And that's how I used my degree. But it was very interesting because when I went on the next hall and started meeting people who said, oh, I'm an English major. And I said, wait a minute, all you have to do is write one paper and you're done. And they seem to be having such a good time. I said, okay, we got to figure this out. So I met all these amazing women who had the same scholarship as I did. And we had a lot of fun going to parties and hanging out. But we said to each other, okay, if you want to go to this concert, we're all going to go together. We're going to leave at this time. We're going to come back and take a power nap for 1 to 3 hours. And we're going to get up and study together. And so I definitely attribute a lot of my academic success to my wise sisters. So shout out to all my wise sisters that are watching. And thank you so much for just pushing and motivating me. And we just pushed and motivated each other to excel. So I definitely think they knew what they were doing with that scholarship by putting us all together, because when we felt like at the moment that this math exam was the hardest thing that we would ever face, it was always somebody in the group to say, look, we thought that about the last exam and we passed it and we're going to push through this and we're going to make it through. And then when I transferred over to Georgia Tech, I really leaned on my Atlanta University Center classmates, and I was very active in college, definitely an active member of National Society of Black Engineers. And so when I transferred over to Georgia Tech, all of my community from the Atlanta University Center, we continued to push each other and help each other to graduate. So that community is what I'm so proud of.
Yeah, that collaborate to graduate thing, that's very, very real. Absolutely. You know what I want to know? It sounds like you had a passion for law growing up, and you had this thing for math and science, and you were just smart. At what point did you marry the two and decide that you wanted to become a patent attorney?
So when I was in 3rd grade, I watched The People's Court. And I love Judge Wapner. I would watch that show with my grandmother. And this is at the time where I didn't get to watch a lot of TV. We watched TV as a family. So it's like, you're going to watch this show together. And if that's not what you want to watch, find something else to do. So I would watch this show with my grandmother. And I said, hey, I want to be a judge. Now, remember, everybody in my family, they're engineers and scientists. So I didn't really have any influences except for The People's Court at the time. And I thought I wanted to be a TV judge. Like, okay, I want to lay the law and I want to be on TV. That's what I said that I wanted to do. So when it was time to go to college, and I got that dual degree. My degrees are in mathematics from Spelman and civil and environmental engineering from Georgia Tech, I still had my hopes and heart set on going to law school. And so I had never been to Washington, D.C., but it was in my mind that, hey, all the great lawyers go to D.C. They're in D.C. They're always talking about D.C. on TV and in the paper. And so I literally knew some other Spelman classmates that had gone to George Washington, and I applied and I was accepted to George Washington Law School. Now, I was very passionate about environmental engineering. So my degrees are in civil and environmental engineering. And when I was in Atlanta, I did a lot of community service in underserved neighborhoods where we learned that they were intentionally dumping trash in those neighborhoods, and those neighborhood residents had cancer and different things. So I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to law school. I'm going to actually use my engineering degree in civil and environmental engineering to be an environmental champion. And so when I went to GW, though, to be a patent attorney, you have to have an engineering degree. And Ashley, what's so unique is that I am just known around the world for being an expert intellectual property attorney, but I have to tell you, I didn't learn about patent law until I got to law school. And that's one of the main reasons I'm so passionate about telling everybody about it, because people just don't know about it. And if you don't know what you don't know, then you don't protect it, or you don't enforce it, or you don't aspire to be a patent attorney. So one of my professors said, look, you have this engineering degree and you qualify for this. Have you thought about patent law? GW is the #1 law school for intellectual property law. And my professors were federal court judges and leaders at the Patent and Trademark Office. And I started taking these classes. I was able to work at large, small, and medium law firms. And I just fell in love with the idea of helping people to protect their ideas. And you know, it's a positive type of law because it's like you have a dream and you act on those dreams, and I'm able to protect and enforce those dreams. So I am literally like fulfilling my dream, and I own this law firm, and I'm just so proud that I can be an extension of my clients' teams by protecting their intellectual property. So I didn't ever really aspire to be a patent attorney. I was just sort of led in that direction. So I'm one of those people that if you encourage me and tell me I can do something, I'm going to ask you how to do it, and then I'm going to try to figure it out.
Yeah, well, so patent attorney, beautiful. Entrepreneur, amazing. So you mentioned that you have clients internationally. So, I mean, that says a lot about you. You know, talk to me about that transition from law school to where you are now, and how you've gotten exposed to so many people, or so many people have gotten exposed to you from around the world. That didn't just happen overnight.
Well, actually, after I graduated from law school, a lot of my peers were accepting these mega law firm positions at these amazing firms. And like I said, GW is a phenomenal law school. So I was very fortunate to attend such a prestigious law school. But I felt like I had gone straight through college from Spelman to Georgia Tech, to, you know, had a job in the summer, then attended GW Law School. So it was my mind that, hey, I never really had a real full-time job, and I'm living off of these loans, and I'm living off of, you know, a low income. So I said, hey, I don't have to take the mega job. I applied and decided to work as a patent examiner at the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And so although I had passed the bar, the state bar, and I had passed the patent bar, my job wasn't a patent attorney, it was a patent examiner. But I said, okay, that's fine. I'll be a patent examiner. I want to learn how to examine patent applications. If I'm going to be this big patent attorney, I need to learn the law of the land, and they're the ones that issue patents. So I really was very fortunate that my supervisor, who hired me for my first full-time job, it's amazing how, you know, life has come full circle, because he's now the commissioner of patents at the patent office. And so we tell this story, how I've gone to conferences and introduced him, and, you know, we've seen each other, and he says, oh, well, you were the first person I hired. I'm like, oh, and you were the first person that gave me a job. And then people laugh like, well, who really did the best job? You know, who helped too? So we joke about that. But I'm very proud of that time at the patent office as a patent examiner. But then I still kind of had in my heart that, look, I wanted to be a lawyer. I want my title to be a lawyer. And so I saw a job opening at the Patent and Trademark Office as a trademark examining attorney. And so I applied for that job. I had to go through an entirely different interview, entirely different group, and I got the job. And so from there, I moved on to be a trademark examining attorney for 2 years. And what happened was I had a mentor, and I would go to these different events and I would meet all these amazing people, and they were just attracted to me. And they would say, wow, what do you do? And I would tell them, and they say, well, can you help me with my patent? Can you trademark my brands? And these were, moguls and celebrities. And I would say, sorry, I work at the Patent and Trademark Office. I can't help you. It's a conflict. And I started sending all those people to one of my mentors who was almost retiring. He was in his 70s at the time. And one day he just called me, Ashley, and he said, Andrea, I think you're getting a little too comfortable. You're going to all these places. You're being put in these places for a reason and meeting these people for a reason. And they're attracted to you for a reason. And you're not sharing your gift like you should. And I just kind of listened to him out of respect. And he said, and the other thing is, you sent me 6 figures worth of business, and then when I heard that, I kind of said, okay, well, I'm doing something wrong, because remember, I wasn't making 6 figures. And so I started thinking, imagine if I actually tried. These were just people that knew me in college and knew that I did this in law school. So they knew me as the go-to person to call. And I was referring all this out. So Ashley, you're not going to believe this. After that call, I came home, I talked to my husband. I said, well, what do you think if I try? And I was kind of going back and forth with him. And he said, hey, if you think you can do it, go for it. And I just put in my 2 weeks notice at the Patent and Trademark Office. I had never aspired to start a law firm. And remember, I'm going back to what my family told me all my life. I said, what's the worst thing that could happen? I'm smart. I'm going to either figure this out or somebody else is going to hire me. And that was over 13 years ago. And I'm the proud owner of Evans IP Law, a full-service patent, trademark, and copyright law firm.
Right, and you're smart. And I was actually communicating with someone else the other day, and they said she's smart and she does not sleep. She is the hardest working woman I know. And you know what, Andrea, you also give back, to so many, and you have such a passion for STEM. Can you talk to us about some of the programs that you've established and things you've done in the community, so that people can look to have different careers in STEM?
Yes, so I formed KidGINEER, a hands-on STEM program where we provide educational exposure and STEM exposure, all the way ranging from our famous Rock the Code hands-on video game class to our chemistry class to our engineering classes. And we start as early as 5 years old. So remember, back in Houston when I grew up around my family members who encouraged engineering. Let's go to the science lab at the community college and do your science project. And I just thought that was a way of life. I thought everybody was doing extra math problems on the weekend, and everybody was, doing all these chemistry projects. So fast forward, I'm here in Maryland raising my own family. My daughter at the time was in kindergarten. I went to the school and said, so where do we sign up for the science club, or where's your science lab? And they said, they just kind of looked confused, and they said, well, we don't have one. And then that's when KidGINEER was born, just on the spot. I had the name in my mind, and I said, oh, well, I have a STEM program that I'd like to introduce you all to, because I had been doing all of these hands-on projects with my daughter and her friends, and it just took off beyond what I could have ever imagined. It started as an after-school program at the school, and we basically grouped the kids from kindergarten to 1st grade, 2nd to 3rd, and then 4th to 5th. And this was after school, and then the parents would have to pick up the kids. And I realized, I said, something is missing here, because if it wasn't that I was hosting this program, I wouldn't even be able to participate. I have to work, and I'm thinking about all these working parents. And the principal actually said to me, you should pitch this to the county. This is amazing. Like, immediately when we put this out, we realized it was a need for it. But because I had all this education and engineering, that just basically the program just took off, having the encouragement of my mother, who also has an engineering degree, but she also has a PhD in education. We developed this curriculum, and it just took off beyond what I could ever imagine. And I'm so proud to say that I was able to receive the White House Champion of Change Award on behalf of the KidGINEER program from the White House, from the Obama administration. So you just never know who's watching and the impact that you can make. And the program's been going on now for 10 years. And what I'm most proud of, Ashley, is that some of those kids have actually gone on to pursue STEM majors in college. They're graduating from college, and now they're working in STEM. And they call me and tell me that they're just so thankful that KidGINEER did that, that we exposed them at that early age, and they went through the program, and they are now paying it forward. And that is what I'm most proud of.
That is amazing, Andrea. So it's not like you quit your full-time job to start KidGINEER. You were doing all of this, and you had people in your corner that were making all these things happen. And that's amazing that you've done all this, but you're still giving back. You're still giving back and creating resources for people. I believe that you're an author too. Why don't we talk a little bit about that and some of the resources that are available for people who are interested in what you do?
Well, Ashley, I am only as successful as the people around me. So I definitely have to stop and just thank God I have such a supportive husband, that our kids are just amazing. And, they are regular kids that they push back a little bit, but we've come full circle now that Naya's gone through the KidGINEER program. She pays it forward by teaching and mentoring children as well. Austin's in 2nd grade, and he's going through the program. But I have a good team, so I do get sleep. I get a lot of sleep because I have a lot of people in my corner, like you said, pushing and motivating me. And in this particular case, I have to give a shout out to Dr. Dre, who is America's OBGYN, who encouraged me to write the 2 books that I've won awards from. And just to tell my story and share my genius, he really pushed me and motivated and inspired me to do that. And my 2 books are all about inventing, everything you need to know about patents from a former patent examiner and patent attorney, and all about trademarks, everything you need to know about trademarks from a former USPTO trademark attorney. And I'm proud of those books because I know people are watching, and on the outside they say, how do you have time to do all this stuff? But it's just amazing how, as I speak in front of thousands of people and they start asking questions, and they're all over the world, what I realized is people are out here eager for information and access to information. So people may say, I have an idea, I don't know where to start. And I was speaking at conferences and meeting people who were basically just getting ripped off. And they just were getting ripped off because they were trusting people who weren't good people. They were basically just stringing them along. And had they only known the process or what to expect, they could have saved themselves thousands of dollars. And so these books have basically helped me to get the word out at a low price, where people can afford to buy the book. And I get so much feedback from people all around the world who thank me for that, and they end up eventually working with my firm, which is a bonus. But I wrote it to get the word out and to educate people about the process, because you have all these ideas. Now, what do? You started a business. Did you get a trademark? What is a trademark? And so I'm so thankful to be able to use social media, use my 2 books to get the word out and tell people about intellectual property.
Awesome. Well, you know what, Andrea? You come from a strong family, a family that told you from the beginning that you were smart and you believed it. And they're all academics as well. I love that. You created and fostered that same environment in your own home, and you've even taken it out to other people's home, and you breathe that same amount of life into other people's children. You're giving back with your resources. Everyone is like, who is this woman and where did she come from, this firecracker? And how do we keep following her? How can we follow her journey? Can you tell us where we can find you moving forward?
Yes, so you can follow me all over social media at Evans IP Law. And if you're watching, I'd really love it if you would text Evans IP Law to 33777, and you'll be subscribed to my firm's newsletter. We host a lot of events. I travel around the country to different conferences that can actually benefit you. And we are at KidGINEER, KidGINEER, all over social media. You can check us out at KidGINEER.com. And I recently launched Boss-Squire. And so Boss-Squire is a program that teaches lawyers how to monetize their legal degree, basically, how to showcase their genius and position themselves as leaders in and out of the legal field. And so I'm very proud of that, to teach them how to position themselves as an expert, how to use social media, how to write books. And you can follow me at Boss-Squire.com. But I'm just super excited, Ashley, about HBCU Highlights, the venture that we are pursuing together, because we talked about this, that everybody sees what you're doing now. You know, they see you as an attorney, they see you as Ashley of State Farm, but they don't know your journey. And so I'm just wanting to impress upon everyone watching that hard work really does pay off, and to surround yourself around people who believe in you, and you have a choice. You know, people say, oh, my family didn't tell me that. Well, surround yourself around people who will tell you that, because words matter, and everybody should tell their story, because there's somebody watching now that will say, you know, I like engineering and I like law. I want to be a patent attorney. And that's why I'm so happy to have you as a co-host for HBCU Highlights, because we are telling these stories, and I'm so thankful for today to share part of my story with you all.
And I love your energy. We all love your energy. You motivate me. You inspire me to want to take things to the next level all the time, lady. So I appreciate you and the time that we've been able to spend here today, and for, you know, for everything that you do. So thanks so much. And we'll all be looking for you to continue doing great things in the world.
Thank you so much for taking the time to let me tell my story. And thank you all for tuning in to HBCU Highlights.